What's going on, everybody, and welcome into the Point After with Mitch Kaiser. I am your host, Mitch Kaiser. Happy Thursday. Hope you guys are having a good week here. Got a solo show for you today. Going to do a transfer portal roundup. Going to keep this episode solely college football based. I know we reviewed the Super Bowl, talked a little NFL on Monday. Going to talk only college football as it relates to the NCAA and 2026 season coming up in the fall. And then we're going to really tie a bow on the college football season today, as this will be the last episode we talk about college football until after the draft, as we're next Monday, we're going to shift entirely into NFL draft season, as draft season is officially upon us now with the Super Bowl being over. So I'm going to do a mock draft on Monday. Got the Mitch Mock 2.0 coming for you on Monday with a solo mock. And then next Wednesday or Thursday, we're going to have a guest on to preview the Combine coming up. So NFL draft Combine is only 2 weeks away in Indianapolis. So we're going to have a draft analyst on next week, a guest to preview that and talk about some prospects who have a lot to gain going into Indianapolis at the Combine. So should be fun. But yeah, like I said, this will be the last. We're going to keep this episode and really tie a bow on college football as a whole and the transfer portal and do a transfer portal roundup, if you will, and kind of keep track of, inform you guys where some of the top players are, some of the top portal classes are amongst the teams, and who has improved most, who has gotten worse over the offseason, and who really has a chance to win it all next year based on some of the portal additions they've made this season. So this episode will be mostly informational based. I'm not really going to give a lot of takes here. I do have some rankings, some personal transfer portal team rankings of teams I thought did best this offseason, but more informational based, just kind of updating you guys on some news across the NCAA. First, we're going to start off with a couple updates on that front here. For Trinidad Chambliss. So we're still waiting to kind of hear the final verdict on that situation for Ole Miss's quarterback. Of course, Trinidad Chambliss is seeking a 6th year of eligibility after the playing in D2 at Ferris State for a couple seasons, and he got denied initially, and the second one got denied as well. I know he's got like one final appeal that he made, so that is still up in the air, and we're still kind of waiting to hear back. It's kind of one last effort, but the problem for Trinidad is I don't believe he received a Combine invite. And so if he ends up not getting that waiver to come back to Ole Miss, he might be screwed in the draft process. I mean, it's not to say his future is screwed in his future of football. The talent speaks for itself, and the kid's ability on the field will speak for itself. But I just mean, I don't think he'll be able to get a Combine invite and be in this quarterback class in Indianapolis and work out with the other prospects, which would be huge for him and do wonders for his draft stock. So if he does not get the waiver from Ole Miss and the NCAA ultimately, he might be SOL in terms of the Combine for this year alone, because it's in 2 weeks away and all the invites came out yesterday and his name was not on the list. So that's an interesting situation, that very unique situation that Chambliss is in, and I know Ole Miss fans are probably like just kind of wanting to hear the final verdict and be done with it. They did bring in quarterback Deuce Knight from Auburn in the transfer portal, who was a highly touted recruit last 2 seasons ago coming into college. Didn't really play at all at Auburn, but he's got some, highly touted, and he's got a lot of potential. So I know Deuce Knight is there just in case, kind of the safety valve in case Chambliss does not get the waiver. But my placement of Ole Miss in my preseason rankings, like the way too early top 25, is very contingent on Chambliss. I cannot throw them higher than, I think I had him 15th, and that was kind of based on just not knowing. It's up in the air right now. If Chambliss does come back, I would put them as a top 10 team. If not, and Deuce Knight is the quarterback, they're probably more like closer to the 20s. So it's kind of just up in the air right now. We still don't know. I'll say this on Chambliss, because I think I kind of said this on my last episode last week with Trevor Sickmo. We talked about his draft stock, and just if Chambliss wants to be an NFL quarterback and make it in the league someday and be a franchise QB, he's got to come out in this class and put his name and declare and take advantage of this pre-draft process, because he will not be QB 3 or 4 in next year's class, I don't pretend, like he is this year. And I don't know if his stock will ever be higher based on the season he just had and the performance he just had at Ole Miss versus Georgia and Miami. I think if it would be in the kid's best interest to go pro and give it a shot in the NFL and try to develop and take advantage of this class, because like we said, you QB 3 or 4 at worst in this class versus next year where you could be like facing like QB 7 or 8 in a far deeper draft class among signal callers. So that's just my personal 2 cents on it. Obviously, if the kid wants to win a national championship for his university at Ole Miss, then do all the things you can to go back and obviously make that your first priority, win a championship for your school, ride off in the sunset, and see this type of season you have next year, because he will be a Heisman contender if he does come back. He will be a Heisman candidate, probably be one of the top 5 favorites going into the season if he does get that waiver from the NCAAs. But we still don't know, so I'll keep you guys posted and updated as I hear more on that. But right now, it's not looking great for Chambliss in terms of going back to Ole Miss. But I think that could end up being a blessing in disguise for his NFL career if he does want to be a franchise star someday, because this is the best shot he's got. This is the best opportunity he'll have. He'll never have a better draft stock, in my opinion, next year at least. So yeah, that's all I've got on Chambliss. Not to mention he's over 23 years old already, so that's another year that you'd be entering the draft next year at age 24, which obviously the younger the better in terms of entering draft, and you have that extra year to develop in terms of age. All right, that's all I've got on Chambliss. Another quarterback in the NCAA, SEC quarterback in a similar situation is Joey Aguilar from Tennessee. So he is seeking a final year of eligibility from NCAA as well after playing a couple seasons at Appalachian State a couple years back and then coming over to the SEC and Tennessee last year. Had a phenomenal season. Just put up some ridiculous box score numbers in Josh Heupel's offense, and he was honestly the perfect quarterback for Tennessee and for the Tennessee offense. Just a downfield thrower and just throws an insane deep ball. And he really had one of the best seasons in college football. I believe he had finished with 3,600 passing yards and a 91 PFF passing grade, I believe. So if he does get that waiver to come back, he's coming back as one of the top 10 best quarterbacks in college football, in my opinion. He was one of the 10 best in 2025, and entering next season with the weapons they've got in Tennessee, I don't see a case to lower him on that list of top 10 any further than 8th or 9th. I would have to rank them all out, but just off the top of my head, Aguilar is a top 10 quarterback in college football and will be next season if he gets that waiver, which is also kind of same case with Ole Miss. I did not have Tennessee in my way too early top 25, but it's kind of based on this eligibility case being up in there because we still don't know. We haven't heard back. I know Aguilar's just in no man's land right now in terms of the last I've seen on Twitter of what he knows about his eligibility. They did bring in Ryan Staub from Colorado, transfer quarterback who looked promising in a couple of his starts at Colorado, but you never know there. They do have Fajon Brown, a huge recruit coming in, a highly touted quarterback prospect. I've heard a lot of good things about coming into as a true freshman, but it's rare that you see true freshmen start nowadays unless they get kind of the Bryce Underwood $12 million check. So, but I would love to see Aguilar get one more year because I think it would do wonders for this Tennessee offense, and I think he kind of holds the key to their whole season next year in terms of making the playoff or not, because I do think Tennessee could be in position to make another run at college football playoff with Aguilar as their signal caller. If not, I question it as much. Obviously not as much experience from the other quarterbacks coming in there. And but either way, Josh Heupel knows how to coach offense, and his team's going to put up numbers regardless and score points no matter what. So will be a lot more points if Aguilar is the one throwing the ball than versus others, but we'll wait and see on that. No more news speak of on the Aguilar or Chambliss. That's all I got. Those are kind of the two quarterbacks waiting to hear back and still up in the air. And that is why Ole Miss and Tennessee are two teams that I'm just kind of putting off to the side right now in my rankings in terms of like what I project them to ultimately accomplish next season, because quarterback's holding the keys to the car right there. And that's kind of like those two stud quarterbacks, both top 10 in the sport. Like, you're going to need them if you want to make the playoffs next year. So that's all I got to say on those two teams. Moving on to our next topic here. So I am going to rank my top 5 transfer portal teams based on this offseason. So I'm going to give you guys the 5 teams I thought did the best job in the transfer portal this winter. So from 5 to 1, just teams I got. I know 247 has their rankings, On3 has their rankings, a ton of college football media sites have their transfer portal rankings. These are my personal rankings of the players I think will have the most impact at their new schools in terms of success and lead to the most success on the field and really help their rosters improve. Because some of these teams that I'm about to name you were not very good in 2025, so they're really relying on all of these players to truly revamp the whole roster and the whole win-loss record. So, all right, we'll get into it. Number 5. So my 5th best transfer portal team this offseason was the Texas Longhorns. Texas Longhorns come in at number 5 because they were decisive in the portal. They attacked needs and they attacked spots of where they just lost other stud players at. So, for example, they lose Parker Livingstone in the transfer portal from a wide receiver at Texas. They lose him. They bring in an upgrade at wide receiver in Cam Coleman. Cam Coleman might be a top 10 pick in next year's NFL draft. If you don't know this kid or haven't seen him play yet, go look him up and take his highlights with a grain of salt, because he has not had a quarterback yet at Auburn. In both years at Auburn, he has not had a real quarterback to throw the ball to him yet. And his stats have suffered because of it. But the talent this guy possesses, the athleticism, the catch radius he has is elite. I mean, he's second to none. This guy is a stud athlete. He's probably a top 5 receiver in the NCAA as a whole next year. Probably second in the draft class next to Jeremiah Smith. I would put right now. Obviously, a whole nother season of data to collect, but that's how good this guy is. He's now got Arch Manning throwing to him. It'll be the best quarterback he's had since entering college. I'm excited to see what this duo can accomplish. Arch came on strong to finish the season, was fantastic the last few games for them. A lot of people were not talking about that down the stretch of how much Arch improved over the course of the season. I think this guy is going to be electric in the Texas offense, and I think Sark is going to dial up some fun play calls to get this guy open out in space, because if you can get this guy the ball, he can make things happen after the catch. And he can jump out the gym, great at the catch point. NFL big size. He's 6'4". That's an NFL receiver body right there. And like I said, I think just having a quarterback in Arch Manning is the most important thing for him, because the quarterback play at Auburn the past few years just was not there and kind of suffered. And Cam Coleman's stats suffered because of it. So I'm really excited to see what this guy can do in a full season with great quarterback play at Texas. Another star they added is Hollywood Smothers, running back from NC State. This guy is electric. I mean, he's a future NFL back if I've seen one. I mean, we're talking almost 1,000 rushing yards on six yards a carry with 6 touchdowns, elite speed, can juke guys in the open space. He replaces Quintravian Wisner and both their running backs, along with Raleek Brown, who's the other running back they pulled in from Arizona State. Guy's a stud as well. So I'm excited. Two stud running backs for Arch to hand the ball off to really keep the offense balanced. You got Cam Coleman on the outside, and then you got Hollywood Smothers and Raleek Brown picking up 5 yards a carry. This Longhorn offense is going to be tough to stop, guys. It's going to be hard to stop. Not to mention, the defense is going to be hard to score on, as they just replaced Anthony Hill Jr., one of the best linebackers in college football, with another one of the best linebackers in college football, in Rasheem Biles here from Pittsburgh. Stud linebacker out of Pitt, had a 90 PFF grade the past 2 seasons there. This guy's got NFL talent for days. Again, like I said, almost a direct replacement to Anthony Hill Jr. in the linebacking core for the Longhorns. They're going to have one of the best teams in college football next year. That's why I think this is a top 5 portal class. And yeah, I think they will be. I think what we thought Texas was going to be last year is what they're going to be this year. I think Arch will be the stud we expected them to be. I think the offense is going to be electric. I think they're going to score points. I think they're going to average over 40 a game. And I think the defense is going to be extremely hard to score on, as it has been the past few seasons under Steve Sarkisian. Starting with Rasheem Biles. So, all right. That is all I got on Texas Longhorns, my 5th best transfer portal team this offseason. Checking in at number 4 in my transfer portal team rankings, I've got the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Now, this transfer portal class is basically just the North Texas Mean Green roster, and that's a good thing for Oklahoma State fans. I'm letting you know now. That team just went, I believe they finished 12-2, almost went to the college football playoff, and had one of the best offenses, if not the best offense in college football. It was a 3-headed dragon at North Texas. 3-headed monster of quarterback Drew Mestemaker, running back Caleb Hawkins, wide receiver Wyatt Young. 3-headed dragon, and they're going to continue to be that in the Big 12 on Oklahoma State. If you have not watched Mestemaker or familiar with his game, you got to go watch this kid now. He's going to be playing in the NFL on Sundays someday. The arm talent he possesses, it's Drake May-like. I've said that a few episodes ago. He throws the ball like Drake May. I'm not lying to you guys when you watch the film. And Wyatt Young looks like a young Cooper Kupp out there. So go find me a better comp than that. And Caleb Hawkins was a true freshman. We didn't even talk about him being one of the best true freshman running backs in all of college football. How North Texas got this kid, I don't know, but he's going to do wonders in the Big 12. That's only 3 players they've added. They've added other talent elsewhere in the portal, and that's only the 3 top guys I named from North Texas. There's other studs from the school coming in as well. Following the coach, Eric Morris from North Texas. I think he's going to be a fantastic coach for the Cowboys. I think he's going to compete in the Big 12 in year 1. I don't think they're going to win it. I could easily see them competing with Texas Tech and BYU, though, at the top, and like schools like Arizona. I could easily see them finishing 3rd in the Big 12 next season, which if your portal class consists of your star quarterback, running back, and wide receiver, I don't know how much more of an impact you have as a transfer portal class. So that right there is giving the nod to the Oklahoma State Cowboys here at number 4. A lot of people might disagree with this list based on how Oklahoma State ends up this season. You know, if they only win 5 or 6 games, maybe it's not as much of an impact as you thought. Oklahoma State only won 1 game last year. They won 1 game last year, and they won 2 games the year prior. So if you can get this program to a bowl game, that's a night and day turnaround, and that's just like a miraculous turnaround right there. So I've got a lot of hopes for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. I genuinely think they could win 8 or 9 games and compete in the Big 12 for a college football playoff. And if Messmaker's as good as we project, he's going to find his name in the Heisman candidacy. And he's going to find his name on the Heisman list. And more importantly, he's going to find his name on draft boards at the top, amongst the top 5 quarterbacks in next year's draft class. Because I don't know how many quarterbacks are better than this kid. And that's all I'll say. I know a lot of people probably have not heard of him coming over from North Texas, probably doubting the competition he was dominating down there, but just watch the kid play. Watch him throw the ball, flip on the tape, as I always say. And then you'll see it pop too. You'll be impressed. So that's why Oklahoma State is my number 4 college football transfer portal team ranking. So, all right, moving on to number 3, the Indiana Hoosiers. So they just keep doing it, man. Cignetti just keeps doing it. He's not going anywhere. This program's not going anywhere. They're here to stay. And they've got the 3rd best portal class in the country, in my opinion, starting with signal caller Josh Hoover from TCU, who I thought could have dipped his name into this year's NFL draft, and I thought probably could have been one of the top 5 quarterbacks drafted. This guy has a great arm. He's got great arm talent, very accurate with the ball, throws a phenomenal layered ball over the middle of the field, especially in the Arizona State game. If you go back to watch that, I believe he had 7 big-time throws according to PFF in that game. He was just dotting the middle of the field, just right over DB's heads, laying the ball, great. I'm very excited for what he can do with Cignetti in that offense next year. And the wide receivers they're bringing back, like Charlie Becker and also Nick Marsh from Michigan State, a transfer. One of the best wide receivers in the Big Ten is leaving his school to go to the best Big Ten school now in Indiana. Who would have ever thought we'd be saying that in college football? But yeah, there are a lot of people who are excited for what Josh Hoover can accomplish in Cignetti's offense next year. And there are a lot of people who are going to bet on him to win the Heisman because of what they think he can accomplish. This guy had about 3,800 passing yards at TCU over the last year and the season before. 80 PFF grade, very accurate with the ball. I think he's had like a 67 completion percentage. Really good arm, a little bit of a gunslinger, does throw a couple interceptions. I expect he'll clean that up, and Cignetti will clean that up with them. Has turned the ball over at times in his day, but if he can kind of wane that in, and if Cignetti can get him to be less gunslinger like and kind of take the underneath stuff, become a better decision maker, I think it's going to do wonders for Josh Hoover's development and potentially make him a draft candidate next year too. So that's only on the offensive side of the ball. They also brought in star edge rusher from Kansas State, Toby Asunsami, who had 4.5 sacks for the Wildcats last season and is just getting started. The D-line is going to be just as stout next year with Toby coming in. I think you're going to see Indiana at the top of portal classes every season now. I mean, we just saw what Cignetti accomplished with the past few portal classes, winning a national championship with Mendoza coming over from California. He pretty much brought the entire roster from James Madison, guys like Pons, guys like Surratt, and they just won the national championship. So imagine what he can do with this transfer portal class. So I'll just say this now. I knew who Mendoza was last year going to Indiana, but I was not high on him. And I was not as high on him as I am about Josh Hoover. So Josh Hoover, I think, like, if you were to ask me a year ago who I thought was better, Hoover or Mendoza, I would have said Hoover. But so I'm very intrigued to watch what Josh Hoover can become with the Indiana Hoosiers this season and Curt Cignetti. So yeah, can't wait to watch it. That is why they're my number 3 transfer portal team in my rankings. So, okay, number 2, Texas Tech Red Raiders. Texas Tech is my number 2 ranked transfer portal team here. The star they added was quarterback Brendan Sorsby from my alma mater, Cincinnati. Broke my heart, Brendan, to see you go. I'm sad, but I wish you all the best, and I'm proud of you, and I'm excited to see what you can accomplish and see what you can become down in Lubbock. Because I think you're a great quarterback, and I think you're an awesome dude. The fans really loved you here. We all loved you at Cincinnati, and we wish you the best. We're gonna root like hell for you, but not when you come back to Nippert Stadium in November. I think, or October, November. I forget when that game is, but I know Texas Tech is coming to Cincinnati next year, so I'm excited to see what the crowd is like that game for Sorsby. I will never boo you, Sorsby. I don't boo. Like, I'll never boo you. I think you're a stud QB. I think you're gonna make it in the league someday, and I do hope you can really put Texas Tech over the top, as that is the goal, and that is the idea of bringing this player in. It was no secret that Texas Tech's weak link this season was the quarterback play. We all saw it in the college football playoff. QB was not up to speed with Baron Morton, and I think that's the final piece. That's all they kind of needed. That's all they were kind of missing this season. You could make a case for some of the wide receivers on the outside, of how truly elite how they were versus just kind of good, not great receivers. But I thought the main issue was the quarterback play, and I do think Brendan Sorsby will clean that up a ton. It's obviously one of the best this is one of the best quarterbacks in college football this season. This guy's name was in the Heisman pool for like 10 weeks of the season, it felt like, until the last few weeks where he kind of play started to deteriorate versus some top competition. But had a 90 PFF grade, 2,800 passing yards, 500 rushing yards, one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in college football. Can really make a difference with his legs. I think that's what Texas Tech's excited about, is the impact he can have in the ground game with the two running backs coming back with Cam Dickey and Jacoby Williams. Their offense is going to be awesome next year. I mean, their offense is going to be better than it was this year, led by Sorsby. There's no doubt in my mind. And the defense will not be as good, though. However, that's the one case the defense will not be as good. This is one of the best defenses I've ever seen in college football, with just two elite pass rushers in David Bailey and Romello Height and guys like that. But they are bringing a couple guys back still. They did lose Jacob Rodriguez, we know, the best linebacker in college football. However, I think they're replacing him with the next best linebacker in college football, and they're replacing him with about the best impersonation you could do of Jacob Rodriguez in Austin Romaine, star linebacker from Kansas State. This guy has been one of the best linebackers in college football for 2 seasons now. I believe he's at an 85 PFF grade for 2 seasons, and comes over from Kansas State, really filling that perfect role that Jacob Rodriguez filled last year. And get to see what he can do. I don't know if he'll be as good as Rodriguez was. Obviously, J-Rod just had one of the best seasons we've ever seen at that position, but there's no doubt in my mind he's formidable and can hold his own in the linebacking role for Texas Tech. So, and then lastly, not a direct David Bailey replacement. You're not going to find one of those, but Adam Trick from Miami, Ohio, is a nice, adequate addition for sure. This guy had 8.5 sacks and a 91.1 pass rushing grade in 2025. So 8.5 sacks is no joke. I mean, that's over the course of his full season, that's doing damage to the quarterback. So that's getting home, and that is going to be their David Bailey replacement. Obviously, no one's David Bailey. The guy's about to be a top 10 pick in the NFL, but he's going to do his best impersonation like Austin Romaine will for Jacob Rodriguez. So the big impact will come with Sorsby, I think, and I think Texas Tech winning a playoff game and like getting back there, and Sorsby really being the reason why and kind of winning them a playoff game will be what Tech fans are waiting for. And that'll kind of be what ultimately makes the $5 million worth it that they gave Brendan Sorsby in the transfer portal. But yeah, he's got to deliver. He's got to deliver. I'm a big Sorsby fan. Again, I'll be rooting for him. Love to see the conference do well as a Cincinnati fan, but I won't be rooting for them when they play each other at Nippert Stadium. So we'll see. But yeah. All right. That's all I got on Texas Tech, my number 2 ranked portal team. Fine. Now, lastly, final number 1 team in the transfer portal, in my transfer portal rankings, I have got the LSU Tigers. Number 1, Lane Kiffin, transfer portal king. He gets the nod again, and he gets the label as the transfer portal king. LSU Tigers, number 1. I think what they did is special, man, and I think they're going for a natty. They're going for a national championship, and they've got to deliver. You know, Lane has got to deliver. Lane's got to get it done, and he's got to go on a deep playoff run to make it all worth it, I'd say. I don't think I don't think it's a championship or bust type of season, but the fact that you just left a college football playoff team that made it and did the goal you wanted to do, and you didn't think you could build a national champion at Ole Miss, and you do think you can build one at LSU. So here we go. This is it. We got to see it now. You've got the resources, you've got the spending, you've got the NIL, and you got the coaching staff, and now you've got the talent through the portal. Starting with Sam Leavitt, quarterback from Arizona State, my number one player in the transfer portal overall, my number one quarterback in all of college football. This guy, the talent this guy has at the quarterback position is special, man. The traits he has, go turn on the tape for this guy and watch some of the angles he can throw with, the arm talent he has. The ball pops out of his arm when he throws it. Like, he can literally laser the ball 65 yards on a seed. And, like, it doesn't even look like he's putting a lot into it. I've not watched quarterbacks who can just laser the ball like he can at the college level. You're talking guys like, at the next level, like guys who can let it rip. Josh Allen, Herbert, Mahomes types of guys. Not throwing Levitt there, but watch the ball zip out of his hands. Sometimes it zips too much, and that's ultimately his problem. That's ultimately why he holds a 61 completion percentage in his career, because sometimes he just fires a fastball, and he should kind of let a little off of it, maybe fire a changeup next time. But I think that's where Lane Kiffin comes in, and I think that's where Lane's development of quarterbacks is really going to help and benefit Levitt specifically, because this guy worked with Jackson Dart, and look what he turned him into. It turned him into a first-round pick, and he turned him into a very promising, hopeful young quarterback in the NFL who a lot of people are high on, and a lot of people have a lot of faith in on the Giants. I think Levitt is way more talented than Jackson Dart. I think he's already has been better in college football than Jackson Dart was, for the record. So I think Levitt possesses way better tools than Dart ever had, and I think that's ultimately kind of have a higher ceiling than Jackson Dart had. So the ceiling's number one pick types of level. Like, we're talking like Caleb Williams type of season where he's running the ball, he can run, he can jump over dudes, truck dudes. I think he's going to run a 4.5 40. I'm not kidding. So I'm predicting like a season where we're looking at like 4,000 passing, 500 rushing with potentially 40 touchdowns total. And then you kind of see what that looks like on the other side. That's a Heisman type of season. And if Lane can get Levitt to develop from the pocket, become a better decision maker, I think that's the type of season you're looking at for Sam Levitt. And then you're potentially looking at a number one overall pick. That is what the types of traits this guy possesses as a quarterback. Now, that is just one position that he brought in. I do think Levitt will have the overall most impact as one individual player at a new school, but that's because quarterback always has the most impact. So it's tough to not talk about quarterbacks sometimes, but they attacked other positions as well. Two guys who are going to help Levitt have that type of season. One, Jordan Seaton, his new star left tackle from Colorado. We've been talking about this guy as a first-round draft pick for 2 seasons now. He has one more season he has to play in order to be eligible for the draft and as a true junior next year. He's been phenomenal in pass protection the last 2 years at Colorado, and he's not going to slow down at LSU. That is Levitt's new bodyguard at the left tackle. That's going to help give Levitt time. That was his number one issue going back to Arizona State, was if they could build a line strong enough to protect him or not. You kind of saw it be a little shaky against some of the top competition in the Big 12. Obviously, against the Texas Tech game, Levitt was sacked 3 times and then ultimately got hurt in the next game, leg injury against Houston, season-ending surgery. If the LSU O-line can protect him and give Levitt time in the pocket to pick apart defense, that's going to make all the difference in the world for this LSU offense. Especially if this guy, this wide receiver in particular, can get open downfield. That is Kansas State transfer Jace Brown. This guy is a dynamic weapon on the outside. I believe he had over 700 receiving yards last season, and he's just getting started. I think he's going to fit in perfectly in the LSU offense. The receivers Lane has brought in are night and day compared to last season, because that was LSU's weakness in 2025 was the wide receiving core. Really struggled to get open for Nussmeier, and they became kind of a one-trick pony in the offense. But I think with Caden Durham coming back, the running back, and the other wide receivers Lane has brought in on the outside, you're going to see an extremely balanced, high-powered offense that I said a few episodes ago they could lead college football in points. I'm not wavering from that take. I think that's very true. I think they could definitely lead the nation in points. So defensively, Lane brought in some studs from Ole Miss, especially Princewell Umamielen, the best pass rusher on Ole Miss. excited to see what he can do with another year of development for Lane Kiffin, coming over as a defensive end. So LSU's defense was good. It was really good in 2025. I'm excited to see it be even better in 2026, thanks to the transfer portal king in Lane Kiffin. So that is why I've got LSU Tigers as my number one transfer portal team in my rankings. So that's all I got on overall team rankings for the transfer portal. So moving on to the final segment of today's episode, we're going to do a couple rapid fire favorite player fits of mine. Just favorite player fits in general. Just this is more individual based and less about the team based. I kind of wanted to just give a couple of my favorite players and some of the team fits I like of where they're off to in the transfer portal. Some players who I really liked and shined at their respective schools, and maybe their teams weren't as good in the win-loss record column, but these are a couple rapid fire player fits that I like at their new schools, and just kind of some guys I think will have a big impact at their new universities. So starting out here. First, Earl Little Jr., safety from Florida State, transferring to Ohio State. Now, Caleb Downs is obviously gone, and they lost Igbeneusen. They lost all their other secondary stars as well. Earl Little Jr.'s got a lot to pick up. He's not going to be Caleb Downs, obviously, but this is the next best weapon you got right there. 69.1 PFF grade. However, Pro Football Network's impact score had Earl Little Jr. as an 85.1 impact score with 4 interceptions. So he finished the season with 4 interceptions. This guy was electric in the first game of the season. I don't know if you remember, against Alabama. So going to be awesome. I think he's going to fit right in at Ohio State and really pick up the slack left behind by Caleb Downs. So speaking of another Ohio State player, my next player fit I like leaving Ohio State is quarterback Lincoln Kienholz. So he is leaving Ohio State, going to Louisville, which I love this fit at Louisville for Lincoln Kienholz. This was the guy I wanted to come to Cincinnati. We were looking for a quarterback a few weeks ago. We did not get Kienholz. Jeff Brom got him, and Jeff Brom is the perfect quarterback whisperer for this guy. The last QB to leave Ohio State and succeed was Joe Burrow. So just throwing that out there. We're not saying Kienholz is Joe Burrow, but this guy's got physical tools, man. This guy is a running threat, dual threat QB, elite physical tools, good arm, throws a good long ball, has been good when we've seen him. He just has not gotten to play at Ohio State because it's Ohio State and Julian Sainz there. He had an 86.8 PFF grade, though, when he did play. Very accurate, fast, can run, good size. I believe he's 6'3", got an NFL arm, NFL size in the pocket. So I'm very excited to see what Kienholz can do at Louisville because I think they're going to be an underrated team in the ACC, and I think they're going to be a sleeper for the college football playoff. So we've seen what Jeff Brown's been able to do with the past few quarterbacks. We saw what he did with Tyler Shuck. I never thought Shuck would develop into an NFL starter, and look what he did at the Saints this year. So we'll see if he can do the same thing with Kienholz. But this was just a fit I really liked because I wanted Kienholz in Cincinnati, and I'm excited that Louisville got him and to see what he can do there. So, all right, next guy, running back Mekhi Hughes. Now, this guy is an electric running back, and it was very weird why he didn't play at Oregon this year. I don't know why he didn't play. Obviously, they had some star running backs too with Noah Whittingham and whatnot, and they were fine. Oregon's offense was just fine, so they didn't quite really need Hughes. But this guy still had 1,400 yards in both of his seasons at Tulane. This is one of the best running backs in college football 2 seasons ago, and I thought he was gonna be great at Oregon. I thought he was gonna really dominate there, but just did not get many carries for whatever reason. I want to say he ended up redshirting halfway through the year and then just didn't go back in the game. But he is transferred to Houston, who is in my top 25 for the way too early rankings. Mekhi Hughes is going to fit right in at Houston, and he's going to be their bell cow back, man. They got Connor Wegman coming back. They've got receivers on the outside. I believe the top 2 receivers are coming back for Wegman. And now he's got a dynamic back in Mekhi Hughes, who has over, I believe, 3,000 career rushing yards in college football. This guy's going to be electric, and this guy is just what the Cougars need to balance out their offense. I'm very excited to see how he can fit in. I think they're going to compete in the Big 12. I think they're going to be a sleeper for the college football playoff again. Went 10-3 this season. That was the best season Houston's had in quite some time. I think they're going to be even better next year. And Hughes is a big factor in that, big part of that. So, all right, next guy, Coy Parrish. Safety out of Oregon. Now, this guy is a direct replacement to Dylan Thieneman, and I'm not just saying that because he's a white safety. He plays similar to Dylan Thieneman as well. Yoked up safety, strong at the catch point, great ball skills, great ball tracking skills as well. He had a PFN impact score of 73.8 last season for Minnesota in a bad secondary, too. He was the lone bright spot on a bad defense for Minnesota. Now, he's going to be one of the main bright spots on a good defense in Oregon. Dan Lanning brought his whole defensive line back, lost a couple guys in the secondary. However, Coy Parrish is the perfect replacement for Dylan Thieneman there. Plays similar styles as a DB. I'm very excited to see what he can do in Dan Lanning's offense. Thieneman transferred in had a similar path, actually, transferring in from a different Big Ten school in Purdue who wasn't as good, similar to Minnesota. And we just saw the season he had for Dan Lanning. Thieneman might be a second-round pick now, so there's no doubt in my mind Lanning can turn Parrish into that as well for the Ducks next season. So, all right. Quarterback Byram Brown, transferring from South Florida following his head coach Alex Golesh to Auburn. Now, this is a guy who has a really weird arm delivery, and I don't love watching him as a quarterback, but it works, and it's effective. And it's very confusing to watch, but somehow it works, and he wins games. And he's played extremely well against SEC teams in his career. I don't know if you guys remember, last season, week 2, he defeated Florida on South Florida's team in the Swamp. Went on the road, beat the Florida Gators, led USF in that game. And a few seasons ago, walked into Tuscaloosa, played a very good game against the Alabama Crimson Tide, lost that game, almost pulled off an upset against Alabama on the road, and then the fourth quarter kind of took off. But these are his advanced metrics. Pro Football Network impact score is at 88.8. PFF grade is a 91.9. So, not to mention, this guy can run. This guy is a huge athlete. I want to say he's like 6'4". Might be a tight end body at the NFL if you go watch him play. That's kind of the body he possesses. Obviously, a really good quarterback in college, or has been in the American Conference. We'll see how he does in the SEC. But I don't know if he's a quarterback at the next level, but he might be very effective for Auburn. I think they made a fantastic hire with Alex Golesh, and I'm excited for these two, their chemistry to continue in that offense. So, all right. Wide receiver Quincy Porter. This is an Ohio State wide receiver transferring to Notre Dame. Now, any Ohio State wide receiver has talent for days. We all know that. Remember Jameson Williams? He was on Ohio State and didn't even play, didn't even get the ball, and then he transfers to Alabama, has the 1,000-yard season with Bryce Young, and look what he is now in the NFL. So, anytime a wide receiver transfer leaves Ohio State, it's probably a good sign for the school getting him. Because this guy was a huge recruit. He was a 4-star high recruit, tall, lengthy receiver, good length, good size, 6'4", good at the catch point. Did not play too much. I think he's going to fit right in at Notre Dame. This is the exact style receiver they need. This is the exact receiver they've been needing. They've got a Heisman contender quarterback with C.J. Carr next season. Another weapon for him on the outside to attack and throw the ball downfield too. Because we all know what they like to run the ball. We all know Freeman prefers to run the ball, but this gives Carr another weapon on the outside. Big 6'4", strong receiver. I'm excited for Quincy Porter and to see what he can do. Obviously not getting much runway at Ohio State and the receivers they have. But, all right. Edge rusher John Henry Daly. Now, this is another player who's following his coach and Kyle Whittingham from Utah to Michigan. This guy had 11.5 sacks, 92 PFF grade, 89 PFN impact score. This guy's going to be playing on Sundays. There's no better description. This guy reminds me of Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson is what he reminds me of. He's going to be perfect for Michigan. The next pass rusher they've been missing since Aiden, really. And following his coach, the impact he's going to have on that defensive line at Michigan, fitting right in. All right, last player. Selfishly here, I want to throw this guy in for my team, my college football team, my alma mater, Cincinnati. Running back Cole Tab, one of my favorite player fits here, transferring from Stanford. This guy had a 75.8 run grade last year, only 400 rushing yards. Didn't get a whole lot of carries at Stanford, but the carries he did get, he was good on, and he was effective on, and he breaks tackles. He's fast. I think he's going to be Cincinnati's RB1 this year. I think he's going to get the ball a lot. I think we're really going to force feed him the ball. 4 yards a carry. Again, he's really the exact running back we need in our offense. We've got a couple other backs who brings other stuff to the table as well. So I like what Cole Tab can come in and bring coming over from Stanford, and I'm excited to see how he fits in and leads this offense. Again, like I said, I believe he will be Cincinnati's RB1 next year. So, all right, that is all I got here. Those are just some of my favorite player fits coming out of the transfer portal. Again, that's the last I've got on college football as a whole this season. Really tie a bow on that. And that's all I got for you guys today. Like I said, we're kind of wrapping up college football as we speak of it as it relates to NCAA. And now we're shifting into draft season next Monday, starting with mock draft Monday. And then, again, preview the combine. And then we got the combine the week after. So getting into the nitty-gritty of draft season. So for all my draft nerds out there, this is the time to shine. This is the exciting part of the year. So I know I can't wait. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to The Point After with Mitch Kaiser below. Appreciate you tuning in. That's all I got for you today. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day.